Let's talk about the movie that started the DC Extended Universe. Man of Steel. So Man of Steel came out almost 3 years ago, can you believe that? And this movie serves as the origin story for not really the DC Extended Universe at that point, but the character of Superman. We have Clark Kent, Kal-El, whatever you want to call him. He's played by Henry Cavill. It's a story of how he finds out where he's from, what he's gonna do with his powers, who he becomes to the world. Now this movie is a case of the story and the characters were great, but the execution was not. I love the characters in this movie for the most part, and I love the story, I love the plot. I just think they could have told the story in a better way, that's all. First of all, Henry Cavill as Superman, he's awesome. He really brings some solid humanity to the role. I mean, before this movie came out, a lot of people were used to Smallville and Tom Welling's version of Clark Kent and all the lore that came from that show. And this movie, it didn't throw all that lore out the window, but it did go in a pretty much completely different direction. But Henry Cavill did a really good job as Clark Kent. Lois Lane in this movie is played by Amy Adams, and I've never really been too fond of her as an actress. Since most of the movies I've seen her in, I hated her in them, and I hated the movies too. But in this movie, she's okay as Lois Lane. I mean, she's no Erica Durance, but she's functional. Erica Durance is like the best Lois Lane ever, period. The bad guy in this movie is General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, and in my opinion, the guy is pretty badass. I mean, you look at the guy looks evil. He looks like he would be a really good villain, and he is a really good villain. When he talks, he's all like, "Where is the Codex?" I don't know, just in my opinion, he was a great villain. The whole Kryptonian lore thing that this movie actually shows you, I love that. I like seeing Clark Kent's backstory, and I like seeing Krypton because it shows you the culture and the lore of this whole DC universe that they're going for. And that's probably the first like 15 minutes of the film, I would say. And then you get to Earth, and it seems like all the scenes leading up to Superman are like out of order, because it's like him in present day, and then the flashback, and then like him before Superman but not yet to here, and another flashback. The scenes are just all over the place, and not in a cool Pulp Fiction kind of way. Your mind kind of has to play catch up to determine where you are. Again, I like seeing the backstory. I like Jonathan Kent, played by Kevin Costner. He was a really good choice actually for that role. Jonathan Kent's actually always been one of my favorite characters in Superman lore because he is the one who teaches Clark Kent his morals. The whole truth, justice, and the American way thing, that came from Jonathan Kent. And Kevin Costner did that justice. And then when Clark Kent actually becomes Superman halfway through the movie, it's awesome visually. Who didn't love seeing Superman fly all around the world pretty much? You know, he's flying over the ocean, breaking the sound barrier. It's awesome. And then General Zod comes into play, and we get to the second half of the movie, which had way too much action. Again, I like watching it. I love the throwdowns in this movie. They're awesome. The whole Superman versus Zod thing, they're clashing and buildings are blowing up. It's awesome and so fun to watch for the first 15 to maybe 30 minutes. And then at a point, it starts to get a little Michael Bay-ish. You know, Superman and Zod, they're fighting and they're still fighting, and Metropolis is blowing up and buildings are getting destroyed and falling down. This goes on for what feels like 30 to 45 minutes. I do like those Easter eggs though. The whole LexCorp thing, you see LexCorp a few times throughout this movie, and when Superman and Zod go up to space and they get to that satellite, it says Wayne on it. Those are some really cool DC Easter eggs. Man of Steel has a lot of things going for it. Like I said, the characters are awesome, the action is really cool, the story, all of it's great. They just could have told the backstory in a more straightforward kind of way and had a little less action in the second half of the movie. One thing about this movie that is completely awesome is the score. Hans Zimmer's score to Man of Steel is, I can't compare it to John Williams' original Superman score because they're so different, but they both succeed in what they're trying to accomplish for the vision for the Superman of their time. Does that make any sense? So yeah, all in all, Man of Steel had great characters, great action, great visuals, a great story, great everything, but it took a major hit when it came to execution. Actually brings this movie down a couple of pegs for me, and I really hope they fix that up in the future. But all in all, as an origin story for Superman, this movie is pretty solid. So Man of Steel, have you seen it and what did you think about it? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.